So my God, it was frigid the last week or so.
It's been frosty.
Bruh,
Very frosty outside.
So here's the thing about me.
So you dripped your sinks.
I did not.
Ooh.
I'm kind of stubborn that way, and I don't do it. And I know I should. But and I know that's probably going to cost me a couple $1,000s just for being stubborn.
Oh, being stubborn.
Right.
Come on, man.
No, but listen, bro. If you know me, you know I love my Life Below Zero and my nature shows and things like that. So, man, this whole time during this
You like swimming inside your own house?
What are you talking about?
Okay, Mr. Stubborn.
No, we're good now. We're good, but it's never happened. But if you know me, you know I love Life Below Zero. I love those Alaskan frontier type shows, and I'm sitting here, bro, like this shit is fucking cold. Like there's no way I could survive in Alaska like this. Now, obviously, set of circumstances would be different. My attire would be different. Everything like this is Texas. You know what I mean? We're not totally used to that, but that's all I kept thinking, man. Like how cold it was, and my man Boston got out there in the yard and
shout out to Boston.
What up, B? He didn't give two shits. Like
he was
covered
just in fur. He's good.
But his feet aren't. His paws aren't.
He was by nature engineered to deal with all elements.
No question about it. But it was kind of cool to kind of marvel at because it was like Buddy wasn't phased at all. And meanwhile, I see my neighbors. They got a golden doodle, the half size, not
one of those accessory size dogs.
Yeah, and he's got them all dressed up with booties on. I was like, come on, man. Hey, at least me and B, we're gonna rough it out there. You know what I mean? So, no, man, it's been crazy. A crazy start to the year. I know we had our first episode a couple of weeks ago. So that was dope, man. I'm really excited about today, but we're gonna get into our guest and the format's gonna be a little different because we're just gonna open it up and talk, right? But how's it been the first month for you?
It's been exciting, man. A lot of progress on multiple fronts. I have completely narrowed my focus on just a couple of things, and the ball is definitely moving forward. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully contracts get signed and things like that, and I can say I'm humble and honored to be a part of some really big things. Things are going in the right direction. I can't complain.
And we going sizzling.
Yeah,
we going sizzling.
I already told you. I'm just gonna call you one day.
Let's go eat.
And I'm like, hey, time to break that fast.
Yeah. So
cleanse. Sorry, cleanse. That's the proper word to use.
Yeah. I did do the fast. Actually, you know what? By the time that this is put out, this will be one more day left.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I did a fast for the first 7 days, no food, just water, and then
the rest of the
month is just juice and water. And so we're rocking it out. Cool thing is, I went to lunch with my sister today, and I don't know how this got brought up, but the lady, there are two women that were sitting next to us, and they were like, "Hey," and they were getting up to leave, and we sparked up a conversation, and they were like, I'm sorry, but I see her eating. Did you already eat your food? And I was like, no, I'm good. I drank it. I didn't eat anything. And they said, and of course we got to talking about it, and they just thought it was crazy to go 30 days with no food. And I was like, no, you can do it. So it's all about the mindset.
Indeed.
So, and I think that's a great segue, mindset. This show is about having a growth mindset, and I am tremendously honored that we were able to get this gentleman into the lab with us. Welcome back to the Vision Lab. I'm your host, Ryan Cuffey, alongside my co-host, Mr. Ryan Mosley. Visionaries, we are so humbled and grateful that you guys are tuning in. If you like the content that you've heard thus far and you like rocking with TVO, please go ahead and smash that like button and make sure you subscribe. And please, if you found that this episode of this interview was impactful, feel free to share it with a friend.
Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes. And so, I'm very excited. Mo, tell us who we got on the show today.
Cuff, today's guest is a native of the famous, or some people say the infamous, Gary, Indiana. You told me a couple weeks ago we're gonna have somebody on the show who's got a very unique story.
Yeah.
Tony, welcome to the show, my brother.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
What up?
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. How we doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm blessed. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Gary, Indiana, home of the Jacksons, home of Freddie Gibbs. I know there's some ties to the Ku Klux Klan. Gary, Indiana is a special place for those who don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't say so much as tied to the Ku Klux Klan, because Ku Klux Klan was further south. Migrated. They didn't migrate Gary too tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Gary was a very interesting place to be growing up in my times, but that's where I'm originally from. But I've been in Texas probably now since 2001, so I'm a native Texan now.
You're a Texan now?
I'm a Texan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love to hear it. So, beginning of the year, Mo, I think, a lot of us have these, visions. Hopefully, visionaries, you've gone out and you've written your vision down, right? And you're working to that. But oftentimes, we run into challenges or hurdles or things that, where the forces kind of feel like they're just against you, right? And I thought today we could talk about like overcoming obstacles, overcoming adversity. It doesn't mean that you're always going to have a smile on your face, right? But it's the willingness to get up each day and put one foot in front of the other and go to war. A lot of times, we're on a mission or a pursuit of fielding our dreams, and shit happens, and that's just the reality of life. And I think, Tony, your story, as many times as we had the chance to rap about it, is impactful. And I think, visionaries, if you're tuning in, brace yourselves, because this is one that you can certainly learn from. So I want to jump right into it, man.
First of all, how'd y'all meet?
So I got to give a shout out to the homie Drew. Drew got me hooked up with Tony, and Tony came through to the crib. We did some business, and it's been love ever since. One of the things that really stood out to me, well, first of all, Drew told me, like, hey, you got to have him on the show. Like, you need to talk to him about his story. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And so he comes through, and we kind of chopped it up a little bit. And I had an issue that Tony was willing to provide some like unique customer service and come out and help service what we needed done at the house. And that's kind of where we started talking a little bit more and like listened to that story, and was just like, man, it's crazy. And so then I ended up coming out to his crib, and we chopped it up just a little bit more. And I was like, yeah, so if you're interested in being on the show, I think that this could be impactful to people. And I think it could help people, right? Visionaries, we don't know where you are in your life, right? Whether you just got out of a traumatic situation or dire straits or whatever the situation may be, or maybe you're in that right now. But ultimately, Mo, one of our chief aims is to help people, right? And to help point them towards a guiding light, and hopefully through these episodic series that we've done, and these podcasts and these interviews with these personal anecdotes, hopefully that does that. And so we always talk about picking nuggets of wisdom on the trail of life, and that's what today is all about. So I want to jump into it right out the gate, Tony. You've got a very touching story. Can you take us back all the way to the beginning and kind of walk us through what you experienced, and we'll just chop it up as we go through.
So what you're about to hear is probably one of my most darkest times in my life. It first started off with my mother.
And how long ago was this? What year?
This was in 2016 when
Okay.
it all started. My mom had a stroke in 2016, October, the end of October 2016. And so when she had that stroke, of course, because she still resided in Indiana, which is Maryville, not too far away from Gary, she had a stroke. So, of course, she's there with her husband, and he called me to come see about moms. So I got the first thing smoking to Gary or Chicago, because you're flying to Chicago, and then you have to drive from Gary to Chicago, which is probably about 20 or 30 minutes, depending on what airport you go to. So I get home, and she's basically paralyzed on one side of her body, but she's still able to talk. But of course, it just seemed like that stroke. She just wasn't right mentally.
What was that like? You could just got off the airplane, drive 20, 30 minutes to Gary. You walk in and you see mom. Like, your mom is there in that position. She's not able to walk.
It was a crazy moment, because I never seen my mom like that, because my mom is, she's a strong woman or whatever, but she was very happy to see me when I came in there. But just seeing her like that was just a shocking to me. I mean, of course, nobody want to see their loved one in a hospital bed, you know what I'm saying? But, she was there, and I think I stayed there for about a week, but then I went back home. Made sure she was good before I left. So I'm thinking that the process, is a normal process. I ain't gonna say normal, but you thinking in your mind, well, okay, she's gonna get back to being herself again.
Yeah, just
it's
a matter
just
of
a
time.
minor stroke.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a major. Well, I guess you could say it's major because she was paralyzed on one side of her body. But I always thought that, okay, well, she'll bounce back, because that's my mom. She's always known to bounce back. But so I came back to Texas, or here, and her situation got worse because, as I said in the beginning, it seemed like after she had that stroke, her mind just wasn't there. She would be screaming out things that wasn't there, talking to people that wasn't there, just little different things at different moments. So it was almost like she was senile, but she just had that stroke. So I ended up finding out that my stepfather could retire. She got bounced from different hospitals because of her temperament. So they kicked out like 2 or 3 hospitals, and there was nowhere for her to go. So I had to fly back to Indiana and bring her back. And this was December of 2016. This was 2 months later, prior to the first stroke. So I went back to go pick her up, had to buy a plane ticket, bring her back. Finally get her back to the house. She stayed at our house for a little bit. And one of my buddies came over. He is a I guess you want to call a manager or something at this home or rehabilitation center.
Okay.
And so he offered, he was like, man, why don't you get your mom to go to the rehab center so we can get her right, because you can't get her right here at the house. So I got in the rehab center. This is December, right around Christmas time. We got her in there, well, after Christmas, got her in there. And so right around January 16th, right around this time.
Wow.
She ended up having another stroke. But let me rewind it. Before she had that second stroke, my dad, who resided in Mississippi, was going through his ordeal. He found out that something was wrong with his kidneys, right? And so I had to go to Mississippi right around the time that I'm dealing with my mom, I'm dealing with my dad. come to find out, my dad, his pacemaker was bad because he had a defibrillator pacemaker. And I'm back and forth dealing with mom and dad. And before mom, I actually, the day that my mom had the stroke, I was in Mississippi or New Orleans because they transferred him from Mississippi to New Orleans because he had to have surgery because his defibrillator pacemaker wasn't operating properly.
It's crapping out on him.
So basically, what we ended up finding out later was that one of his leads from his defibrillator pacemaker was embedded into his heart.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so ended up happening. I'm there. He's fixing to have surgery. Boom, I get a call. My mom had a stroke.
Second stroke.
The second stroke, right? And I get the call. I'm at the hospital with my dad, me and my wife. And I'm like, oh man, this can't be happening. So at the time, my brother and my stepfather, he just happened to be in Texas visiting my mom. And so she had the stroke, and my father was, stepfather was like, hey man, they saying that this stroke here is a bad one. So you might need to get back. So boom, we took off that night. My wife drove. She didn't want me to drive, man. We drove from New Orleans to Dallas in 6 hours.
Yeah, and that's an 8-hour drive.
And that's an 8-hour
Yeah,
drive.
for sure.
Booking it.
Yeah.
She pedaled to the metal.
Yeah.
Trying to get me home. That's why I say, man, my wife, I love her to death.
Shout out to wifey.
Shout out to wifey, boys. Wifey was there when all this was going on. She was there. So we get back. The doctors tell us that there was no chance of her pretty much surviving this stroke because this particular stroke was in the inside of her brain. Mm. So I was devastated. Not only the fact that I was devastated that happened, but I couldn't be with my father in New Orleans while he was going through his surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm curious, Tony, how do you make that decision? You know what I mean? You got your father who is getting ready to go into surgery because his defibrillator was messed up. Kidneys failed. You're already down there. And then you got mom who had a stroke, now had her second stroke, which is worse than the first one. How do you, what are you thinking, and how do you ultimately make that decision to come back to Dallas?
Well, wifey was like, we got to go. So I didn't even really tell my father what exactly was going on. I just told him it was an emergency. I had to leave. So we left. And he understood. My father's the type of person that understands, you know, I mean, he got a family. He really understands what's going on. So he understood. So we left. It was wifey was like, hey, we got to go. So we left. We go straight to the hospital. We don't even go home, change clothes, nothing. We go straight to the hospital.
Yeah.
Go in there. And the neurologist told us that we had a decision to make. Either keep on the machine or take off.
Wow.
Right? And so it was ultimately up to my stepfather to really make that decision. But he asked me and my brother. And my mother always told us that she never wanted to be
on a machine.
On a machine.
Yep.
If it was ever a time. I mean, she told us this constantly. Mm-hmm. Don't leave me on no machine. And my stepfather knew that too. So we made the decision. We didn't make it that day. We waited a day. Made the decision to take her off the machine. We took her off. But, you know, the crazy part about it is that the doctor told us Well, you have to really pay attention to doctors and what they say. What I found out dealing with stuff with these doctors, sometimes you can really hear what you want to hear, but you got to really pay attention to what they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
It's two different things. You can hear one thing and they can tell you another thing.
That's right.
So the doctor basically was telling us that, yeah, there was a chance she wasn't gonna make it. We thinking that it's gonna happen right away. It don't happen that way. She's gasping for air, and man, it was just. That was, like I said, she ended up passing a few hours later, but it took her a while to pass. But my brother, he couldn't be in the room at the time. But my wife was like, hey, you got to be in here because she got to know that you are right. Because otherwise she go be, And so I took it.
Mm.
You dig what I'm saying? I took it.
I got to ask this. You're saying your mom take her last breaths. Can you walk us through what you're emotionally, going through,
man.
what you're thinking?
Oh, man.
I mean, this is mom that's been there at T-ball games and put a Band-Aid on your scarred knee and, scolded you for acting an asshole.
Oh, man. You talking about having to really hone in on the situation. Not very many people can take that. You know what I'm saying? Not very many people can be there to watch something like that. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But, yeah, watching that was a really hard thing to do. I can't tell you the emotions that was going on at that particular time. But, of course, I didn't go out, I was just like, wow. I think I was more in shock that this was going on, more than anything. So she ended up passing away at that particular time. And this was on the 17th, which is tomorrow. So this would be 7 years. She passed.
That's today.
Today's the 17th? Okay. Well, today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. A lot of times a new year is brought and talked about with new beginnings, right? But sometimes there's closures that take place. Sometimes there's still remnant issues that you were dealing with from the year previous. And so I think it's apropos that we're talking to you now at the beginning of the year because, as you just said, I mean, this was 7 years to the day of this recording that took place. So you come back. You unfortunately have to make the very, very tough decision to take her off the machine. She struggles for a little bit, and she ends up passing directly in front of you.
Directly in front of us.
So what about Dad?
Okay, so Dad went through surgery. Everything is it wasn't a success because what ended up happening, they wasn't able to get the lead
out of his heart.
So at the time my mom passed away, she didn't want a funeral, so we gave her like a
repass.
Yeah, sort of like a repass, just for the family and close friends to get together, because she never really wanted it. No funeral where people,
She didn't want all the pomp and circumstance.
Exactly. She was the type that I always say, "Give me my flowers while I'm still here." You know what I mean? So, I'm just thankful that I was able to help my mom, man, because of so much sacrifice that she made for me, sacrifices that she made for me, and I was just happy and thankful that I was able to be there for her when she needed me.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
I'm very proud about that, and I'm sure she's proud of me too. So with my dad, My dad ends up having the surgery. The surgery's unsuccessful. My stepmom's with my dad. So he's going back and forth from New Orleans to Mississippi. So I think this was February. Let's see, February. Let's see. Yeah, the end of February was the last time I seen my dad. Right. Okay. So
2017.
2017.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a visit to go see my dad because my stepmom had to go back to Indiana because she was living in Indiana at the time. And I went for a visit while he was gone because we didn't really want to leave my dad alone because after he had that surgery, he just was getting weaker and weaker. So we ended up finding out that he had a skin disease, a rare skin disease called Stevens-Johnson. Okay. It's a rare, but it's a severe skin disease where you get like sores all over your body. And what causes Stevens-Johnson is medicine.
Oh no.
Prescription medicine. And the prescription medicine, what caused his to turn into Stevens-Johnson was his gout medicine because he had gout. You know, and that's one of the things that it even probably says it on the label. We get these pharmaceutical drugs and we never read the side effects. You know what I mean? But that was one of the side effects from it, and that's what he got. So I had made a concoction, which I had done years ago. I had used shea butter. What is it called? The plant that
aloe vera.
Plant aloe vera. Shaved the aloe vera and coconut oil, and I mixed it all together. And I've done that many years ago because my son had eczema bad, so I was into natural remedies and stuff like that. So I used that, I made that, and cleared the skin up pretty well. So we had took some down there for my dad because the skin, man, I've never in my life, my father's 6'8".
Oh, wow.
280, 270. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Big man, strong man. I mean, always been, tough. Worked in the steel mills 30-some odd
John
years
Henry
before he retired. You know what I mean? He from the old school.
Man,
if you can understand
I
what I mean.
bet you when he whooped ass, he whooped ass.
Oh, man, look. My old man was the enforcer of my family.
I bet he was.
6'8". You know what I mean? But I never seen my father look so defeated in my life. I never forget even going up to the facility, looking at my old man, and was just wondering why he wasn't watching TV, because he was always into sports, always into TV. It was like in my mind, he kind of knew the end was near, because it just didn't sit with me. But anyway, that was my last visit with my father. So in April, he had a couple more surgeries, but the doctors told us that if they don't get this lead out, that his possibility of surviving is very slim to none.
It's one of those things where basically like his body, i.e. his heart, absorbed the lead.
His heart absorbed the lead because
it's like your body feel like it's a foreign object, and so your body, to compensate, it's like, well, I'm just going to absorb it.
Exactly, and because it's a foreign object.
Yeah, and
that's what the skin does, because you got to think it's a muscle. The heart is a muscle, so the doctors had explained to us what that was all about, So we had to make a decision whether we go let him have the surgery or not. I mean, he had to have it because he had to get that out. And so it just the very last surgery he had in April, it wasn't good. Okay, he got out of surgery, and I think he survived maybe a week or two later. He ended up passing away in April of 2017.
So January 17th, 2017, you had to watch your mom pass. 3 months later, now dad's gone.
Now my father passed.
What's your and there's more to this too, Mo. Okay. So this is like I'm telling you, visionaries, buckle up. This is it's intense. But I'm curious, and I want to tie it in since we're in the first quarter of the year, right? When you're going through this, how do you stay? Because, I mean, you got to work. You got a family. You have a wife, kids, right? Like, you can't just say, I'm not working anymore, right? Like, how do you get locked into still taking care of yours, but also still trying to take care of yours?
Well, and that's
like, how do you balance that? Or juggle? I don't know if balance would be even an appropriate word.
And that's the great thing. So 2016 is crazy because in 2016, now mind you, I had just graduated. I got my my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. But my passion was really cooking. It's crazy. Yeah, can't make this up. IT is my field. I went to school for IT, but I got into cooking, and I noticed that I had a gift of just cooking or grilling. I shouldn't say cooking. It's a difference. And so in 2016, I quit my job to start my business, my catering business. In 2016, I never really knew, because I just really it was like a jump. I just jumped. I wasn't scared. I just jumped, man. And this was before my mom got sick. I never really understood. But by me doing that, gave me the opportunity to be able to do the things that I did for my mom. Mm. Because had I been working at a job,
you'd have to check in with somebody and all that. I know.
But
I wouldn't have had that time.
And we didn't get into this, but I'm assuming, right? But I think there's a big nugget there. Like, if you're hearing from God, it's time to jump. Because you don't know what's around that corner, right? And like you said, if you don't jump, you may not be able to have the time off, or maybe you have to sacrifice your full-time income to make a decision on supporting my family, right? And then you got a whole heap of other issues and problems that you got to, deal with after their passing. So,
right. Well, another part of me jumping. Now, I've been married now. 19. It'll be
Don't
19 years this year.
Okay.
It'll be 19 years this year, and again, my wife was a big part of me making that jump. I didn't just go flying off the handle and just make the decision without consulting her first.
Right on.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
sir.
She was a big part. She was a big support of my decision making. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't just go flying off the handle and doing it, but she supported me in whatever it was. And that's hard. Well, I ain't gonna say it's hard to find.
It is.
It's not. It's just that's a whole nother different podcast right there.
What we're trying to say is they don't make them like that no more.
Well, they do. You just got to find the right one.
Count your blessings.
Few and far between.
Yeah, few far in between.
Count your blessings.
I'm blessed.
So you make this decision. You have to watch your mother pass, your father pass. You started your own catering company, which afforded you the opportunity to be there for both of those situations. But, you know, the reason why your story is so engaging is because it doesn't stop there.
So
I know you want to go ahead and light your stick.
So, yeah. Father passed away. April. It's crazy because right after his funeral, we shot to Vegas. Well, I'm running now. I'm running. You understand what I'm saying, man?
Mm-hmm.
I'm running. We shot to Vegas. Boom. Get back from Vegas. Boom. May. We shoot to Destin, Florida. I'm running. I'm running. But during that visit in Destin, I get a call from my daughter, right? My oldest daughter. She says, Daddy, I don't feel good. This and that, woo, woo, woo. I said, go to the hospital. She goes to the hospital, okay? This is probably like the day before we getting ready to come back. She goes to the hospital. They sent her home with I think it was a respiratory infection, the first one. So the next day comes, she calls back. She's still not feeling well. Now, we're on our way back now.
Y'all flying or driving?
No, we're driving. This is
Okay.
19-hour drive. Goes to the hospital. They sent her home again, saying that this time she has a urinary tract infection. Right? I get home. I never forget this. This right here, man. I get home. She's hollering and screaming. I need to go to the hospital. I need to go to the hospital. I'm not feeling well. Mind you, she just been to the hospital twice. Twice. They sent her home. And mind you, I just got off the road, 19-hour drive, coming from Destin, Florida. Now, my daughter, you have to really know my daughter. My oldest daughter, sometimes she can exaggerate a little bit. She's a little dramatic. She's needy attention. So at the time, we like, just you'll be okay. Shayla, my wife, went and got her some medicine, some pain medicine. She took the medicine that night. Calmed down. But something didn't sit well with me that night. And I'm gonna say this for those that want to believe, you don't want to believe. My mother came to me that night. You know what she told me? That night, she told me to take that girl to the hospital. Take that girl to the hospital. And I didn't.
All right, hold on 1 second, because we're about to. This is deep, but when you say your mom came to you and said you need to take that girl to the hospital,
In my dream.
it was a dream. So
In my dream.
Okay.
In my dream, she came to me and told me to take her to the hospital. Cause I dozed off because I really couldn't get no sleep that night because I was kind of like, I just didn't feel right that night. It was a feeling, and I did not act on what I was supposed to at that particular time. So I get up the next day. First thing I do when I get up, I check on her. She's cool. The pain is gone. But the part that wasn't cool was it was like she was out of her mind, inebriated, pretty much. So the first thing I thought, she had took a drug. You know, because these young kids like to explore. And the first thing in my mind, she's that age. She's 23 at the time, or 22 at the time. So I'm thinking, okay, well, she just took something. Stumbling all over the house. Now I'm mad because you taking stuff and you all over the place. Like, come on, man. But what I didn't know, it wasn't that. But I didn't know that until she ended up using the bathroom on herself. Then I said to myself, this is serious. I need to take her to the hospital. I took her to the hospital. This was about 3:00. Took her to the hospital, right? Medical City of Irving, I never forget. On MacArthur in Irving. And we got there. They do tests on her. First thing they do drug tests. The only thing they found in her system was marijuana. Of course, I knew she smoked, okay? Then she began showing signs where they had to go and do a lumbar test, a lumbar puncture, okay? They do that. They do that for spiral meningitis, okay? But what we didn't know, in order for them to be able to do a lumbar puncture, they have to give you this drug called Ativan, okay? And what I didn't know, that she was allergic to Ativan. So they gave her the Ativan. I'm sitting there, right in the room with her. And she coded.
Oh, no.
She coded right there on the spot. And so when she coded, now it's chaos. Doctors running everywhere. They did a little sign, woo, woo, woo. And I'm sitting there in disbelief now. You got to mind, you got to think. I just lost my mom. I just lost my dad. And now this is going on.
And this is your daughter.
This is my first child. I just couldn't. I just couldn't believe what was going on. And what was crazy about the situation, the nurse that was in there giving her CPR was giving my baby CPR. They wasn't reviving her right away. So I never forget, the lady gave me a look as almost as if, I don't know if she go come back. The look in the eyes, you can tell the look in the eyes.
I'm trying. I don't know what else to do.
That's the look that she was giving me.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving her the look like, man, y'all better save my baby. You know what I mean? To me, seemed forever, but I believe she was under for maybe a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, but that was the longest 2 minutes of my life.
Yes, sir.
You dig what I'm saying? They bring her back. When they bring her back, the neurologist tells us that her chance of survival was on a scale from 1 to 10, a 1. Okay? I had to call that girl mama, which is my baby's mom. I had because that's my daughter through my first baby mama. Devastated, to say the least. Everybody was devastated. So we didn't want to take that for an answer. So we went and got a second opinion.
Good. Good for you.
Okay. Now, we got the second opinion from Zelimsky. I want to give a shout out to Dallas Zelimsky. They specialize in neurology. That is a great hospital. But that's not the only great hospital that's over there. Parkland's a good hospital. UT Southwest Medical is a good hospital. All of those hospitals are like right there. And so we got her in Zelimsky. So they brought her back. But we found out that they diagnosed her with a rare autoimmune disease called Bickerstaff brainstem encephalitis. Never heard of this before in my entire life until now.
Bickerstaff brainstem
encephalitis. A rare disease, right? A rare disease for your peripheral and your central nervous system. So basically, my daughter nerve endings were damaged. Her peripheral vision was damaged. She couldn't see anything in her peripherals, period. She couldn't move voluntarily on her own. She was basically in a pelagic state. Okay? Devastating, to say the least. But she's still here, right? So on the road to recovery, we trying to remain positive. I wouldn't even let nobody in the room unless you're positive about everything. I was at every meeting because they do rounds, you know, and when you're in ICU, or if you ever had a family member in ICU, the doctors who's ever
on the wing running, yep.
Either neurology, you got phlebotomists, you got different doctors who take care of different things, and they come by and they all get together, they had a rounds. So they would have their rounds because this is nothing I ever heard before. I went and done my research and just, it was crazy. I even went as far as to, because my daughter couldn't eat or anything, so she had to have IV feeds, basically to get her nourishment, because she couldn't eat, because voluntarily she couldn't do any of that. She couldn't swallow any of that. So basically, you know, my daughter was getting feed through tubes. And eventually I convinced the doctors to change her feeds to plant-based feeds. I had to, because insurance wouldn't pay for the plant-based feeds until the doctor approved it, and I had to prove to the doctor that this was the best nourishment for. And man, the doctor was surprised that I was so vigilant as far as getting the best care for my daughter. You know, I'm sure they've seen people before, but as far as going to deep studying, and because I ain't no dummy, you tell me some stuff, I'm gonna go research it. Although my wife is a nurse too, that helped out a lot. So of course, my daughter's getting better. Okay. So now it's time. She's not ready to come home, but she's ready to come down to a step-down hospital or a facility. I can't think of the name of the facility that she went to in Arlington, but there's a facility which is a step-down facility below the hospital, but above like a rehabilitation center. Because
a specialty center.
Right. She wasn't quite ready for that yet. So we got her there. She regressed.
Do you think she regressed because of the level of care?
Okay, that's that's a sticky situation. I'm not really sure. I really don't know for sure. I would like to say that they did the best that they could. But she coded a couple of times there. And
A couple of times.
A couple of times.
Yeesh.
A couple of times. And each time you gotta mind, each time that her brain is not getting oxygen is making her situation worse.
And you're damaging the brain.
It's damaging her brain. So that goes on from May till January.
7 months, 6.5, 7 months of this.
Yeah, well, yeah, and well, she went back to the hospital, and they gave us an ultimatum. Okay, whether we put her in a facility like a facility that I put my mom in, or she comes home, and we have to take care of her from home. My wife was the first one to raise her hand and say, "We taking her home." I look at her like, are we? Like, how am I going to be able to? Because mind you, she had to be fed 4 times a day. She has to go through physical therapy to try to get her joints back right.
So she avoids atrophy.
I'm talking about she needed 24-hour care. 24-hour care. I brought her home. My wife, we had her room set up like a hospital. Of course, we got everything through the insurance as far as the supplies and everything. I mean, I had it set up like a hospital, man. I shared it on Facebook too a lot of those times, but yeah, everything was set up perfect, and man, I probably was getting maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, especially when my wife had to work, because I couldn't do nothing. I had to be there with her.
Is the catering business still going?
Yeah, but I can do what I can do. So obviously, I'm really not working as much because I'm taking care of my daughter. So it's there, but not as much unless my wife is there or unless her mom came over and contributed a hell of a lot too. So all that went on. Then this one particular night, she started back talking because my daughter had stopped talking and everything. This one particular night, I never forget. She told me she was tired. And that the only reason why she is keeping going was because of me and her mother. That broke me down because I'm like, man, she is trying to live because of me and her mom. I was broke down. And then the day after that, she had to go to the hospital and never came back home. So in July of 2018, she passed away. I wasn't there to see her take her last breath, but her mother was. That's one thing that I don't wish that on nobody. I'm glad I wasn't there. I hate that she was there. If anybody had to see that a child, but yeah, they called me and they was like, her husband called me, was like, look, man, Brittany passed away. Okay. And about 5 hours later, he calls me back, was like, hey, man, I can't get her out the bed. she's still in the bed with her 5 hours later after she passed away. But anyway, so my daughter passes away. So now I'm like,
And this is all within 18 months.
yeah. This is all within 18 months, man.
Now I want to pause here because that's a lot. Mother, father,
Daughter.
now your firstborn, your daughter, and we're girl dads as well. We both have daughters. And we don't have sons, so I can empathize certainly, right? It's July 2018. What are you thinking about as you look back over the last 18 months? Like, are you mad at God? Are you mad at yourself? Are you mad at your baby's mom? You mad at your parents? Like, what emotional, what was your emotional state like?
I didn't have none at that particular time.
You just numb?
I didn't have none. Even at her funeral, like, it's crazy because everybody was looking at I'm visualized going back to the funerals. Like, everybody was looking at me like to see how I'm gonna react because everybody knew what was going on with me. But I didn't have any emotion. I didn't.
Was that
cry
just
or
tired?
anything.
You were just tired of.
I think it okay, so it hadn't really hit me yet.
Because you've been working the whole time.
I've been going.
I mean, when I say work, what I mean is you're working to take care of your daughter, and your focus, your attention, your energy is all on her. And I think it's very common that after, she passes or whatever, there's nothing left for you to give at that point.
Man, I was just numb pretty much.
Yeah.
Just still cannot believe all this is going on. So 2 years later, it hit me. It hit me hard.
2 years.
And then I went to go. I had even went to go see a psychiatrist. And so there's nothing wrong with going to see a psychiatrist, man. If you think something's wrong, man, go see a psychiatrist because it helped me a lot. I probably wouldn't be able to sit up and talk to y'all had I hadn't had a little bit of help. Now mind you, the psychiatrist can only lead you to the water. You have to drink the water.
Yes, sir.
Which means that you have to get it within yourself. Because that was a lot to endure at that particular time. And then it don't stop there. Don't stop there.
It's crazy.
2018 goes by, years go by, I'm thinking my life is going to get back to normal. Here, 2022 come rolling around. Well, 2021, my son, he has a head injury and maybe I'm not sure. I think in maybe June or July. So we thought he maybe had a concussion. All the year was going all year, the year had gone by. And so he started throwing up and not being able to stop throwing up. So we didn't know what was going on with him, man. Sent him to the doctor. My wife ended up getting him an MRI. So they go to the hospital, get an MRI. They give me a call. I'm at the house. I'm working from the house at this particular time. And they tell me that my son has a tumor. This I forget how many centimeters. It was a pretty big tumor on his brain, and that he needed to have surgery right away. And that it was cancer. Now, mind you, my son at the time, he's 15 now. He was 13 at the time. No, he was 14 at the time. Because this was January. He had just turned 14. No, he was 13 at the time. And man, 13 years old, finding out my son got brain cancer. Now I'm just
You right back in it.
Tell us.
at this particular now I'm like to the point to where, okay, if something happens to him, I don't want to live no more. Like really, I was at a point to where if something happened to him, it's over for me. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. So he has a surgery, man. His surgery was 10 hours long. We in that waiting room for 10 hours, brother. I'm in.
Lord.
If you can imagine the feeling of being in the waiting room for 10 hours, knowing that your son having brain surgery, 13 years old having brain surgery. You talking about bad nerves at that particular time. So we got through it. About a week later, they take another MRI to make sure that it was out. The doctor come back and tell us they did not get all the cancer out. That they had to do another surgery.
Gotta go back in.
They had to go back in and get the rest of this tumor out. At that point in time, I'm mad as hell. I'm ready. I'm looking at the doctor like, boy, I feel like stealing on this dude right now, man. Like livid, man. Like livid. And the doctors knew I was mad because I had walked out of the room. It was like, man, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I said, you know what? I gotta let his course. I gotta let God take his course. So we ended up going through it, man. They ended up getting out getting all of the tumor out of his brain. Ended up having chemotherapy and radiation.
Wow.
And a year later, man, he back playing football.
Praise God.
And so,
Amen.
and it didn't stop there. Because I don't even know if I told you this the last time we talked. I don't know. I don't know if I told you.
No, I knew about the tumor, and I knew that they got it out, but that was it.
My stepfather ended up. I find out, and this was 2023. I found out.
This is when you went to Mississippi?
No, my stepfather.
Okay,
My father
okay.
already passed. My stepfather was the one that was there with my mom. He was there when my mom had the second stroke. Find out he had lung cancer. And it was the 4th stage lung cancer, but I didn't know how bad it was. He didn't let us know how bad it was. I just went down to go help him out. I come back home, then found out his situation got worse. October 27th, I watched him pass away. And I was getting ready to say, because he passed away like my mom. And when I saw him, it was like me seeing her all over it. So it was like me watching it all over again. Wow. Yeah, man, that was rough. But I can say that what made me be able to go through all of that, because I hear a lot of people say, oh, man, you strong, man. You the strongest person I know. Woo. I never believed that. You understand what I'm saying? I never looked at it like everybody else is looking at me like, oh, you strong. I just look at it as, and it could be I could have been set up. And what I mean by that, by a lot of rough things that I went through in my past in Gary, Indiana, growing up in Gary, I might have been set up.
You were battle tested.
I was battle tested, pretty much. But each and every one of us have that in us. So when we talk about death, nobody wants to talk about that. Death is life, you know, and we all got to go through it someday. And that's how I'm able to just to get up and go, because I fall down. Don't get me wrong. I had a moment this morning because of my mom. I'm thinking about my mom, but I don't sit there and waddle in it.
So, were you close with your stepfather?
Yes, I was very close.
So you got a chance to see him pass, and
Yeah.
and there's no more death or passing as of right now.
This
Okay,
was
cool.
October 27th, the day
Yeah.
before my birthday, is when he passed away.
So I think, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you, sir, for being so transparent and honest and willing to share your story. You know, that is impactful. And I think where I kind of want to go next is, and you just started talking about it, like every day isn't, you know, peaches and roses. You know what I mean? Every day is a struggle. There may be mornings where you get up where, you know, you have a thought or an aroma reminds you of your daughter, or a football game reminds you of your father. And so you have those type of moments. And so what I kind of want to get into is talk to our visionaries, and that's what we call people that rock with TVLP. Talk to them about how you're able to deal with this. I mean, those are 4 huge and monumental acts, right? So how do they get through the grief?
You have to reality, because we all want to live in this fantasy world. I mean, come on, man. We have to realize that, like, again, death is for certain. But really, how I really got, while I was going through what I was going through, I did a lot of meditating too. I didn't mention that. Meditating. I learned how to meditate. And then after I meditate, I would run. And it carry on to me today. So exercise, good habits, not getting off into, you know, drugs and alcohol. Man, if you can find you something
productive.
Lift weights, run, exercise, read a book, and just take your mind off of it. Because we always, you always go think about it. It's never gonna go away. You just gotta learn how to deal with it. You learn how to deal with it, man. And just know that one day it's gonna be you. You know? So that was pretty much how
So you put a pragmatic approach to it.
That's the only way you can look at it, because if you don't, you're never gonna be able to progress. You're always gonna regress instead of progress, and that's why a lot of people get stuck. They get stuck in that state, and they can't get out of it. They trapped. You have to be able to get up, because life goes on at the end of the day. Life goes on, man. As much as I miss my daughter, man, please believe, man, that's my very first. So every day I think about her. You know what I mean? I can't bring her back. So what I'm gonna do a disservice for the people that need me, because I want to be stuck. She's gone. I can't bring her back. So you gotta keep moving. You just have your moments, and you gotta keep moving.
So I want to challenge that statement. Not that I disagree or believe it's wrong, but you're the father. It's different as a mother, and I'm sure mothers that are out there that are watching this and say, "Well, that you didn't carry that baby for 9 months." You know what I mean? You weren't there breastfeeding. You weren't there, all that stuff, which is very valid and very true, right? Because that bond that they have in the womb, a male and their child will never be able to. I don't want to say compete, but it's different, right? Totally
That's
different.
true.
So, what about the moms out there that may have had to recently bury a child? And what would be your advice to them?
My advice to the ladies, you just got to keep pushing. I still talk to my baby's mom every now and again. I'll text her for like Mother's Day. She'll text me Father's Day. We'll talk, have a conversation, but from what I can't really speak from a woman's perspective because, like you say,
Right.
I didn't carry the baby for 9 months. However, at the same time, the same rules apply.
Yes, sir.
You have to be able to move on, especially if you have other kids. You got to keep moving for everybody else. You just can't sit there and just and waddle in it. You have to stay busy. Find you something that you love to do that'll take your mind off of it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you gonna get caught up in your own trap.
Yeah.
Some people get immune to feeling that way. Whether you believe it or not, we living in a society right now where there's people out there, there's starving for attention. And I don't want to say that it's attention, but in that aspect, it's a certain feeling, man. Some people like for people to feel sorry for them. You got to get out of that. You just have to get out of that
It's
mode.
ugly truth. It's an ugly truth.
I mean, it is what it is. You speak it into existence.
It's been one hell of a sit down. Shout out to you, Cuff.
Yeah, I told you it was going to be.
I think the one sole question that I have after listening to this is, as you move forward in life, right? Because you said you still got people. There's still people here who depend on you. What has been the leading force, or the biggest tool that you've used to remain square on your feet? Because that's a lot for one person to take, right? Like you just said, yeah, like you can't be the victim role. You can't play the victim role. You can't just scream "Why me?" And you've mentioned going to see a psychiatrist, things like that. But what's the one thing that has helped you stay square on your feet and kept you squared away?
Getting into drugs or becoming an alcoholic or just throwing your life away.
People have snapped and gone crazy for far less.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they have. A lot of people can't deal with one.
I mean, people get fired from a job and go shoot up buildings, let alone lose 4 loved ones like that, and still remain sane. So, like, what's the biggest thing that has helped you stay square?
Like I say, it could be the battle test, man. I've been through a lot growing up, but I mean, this is different. But I would say I'm a spiritual person too now. My creator, I never mentioned that because I'm not a religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person than a religious person. So I just believe that I was guided through by my creator. and my knowledge for me knowing my spiritual and knowing that one day I'm gonna see my people again in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So, you know, that's really it, man. I like to help people too. Helping people, it gives me a sense of satisfaction because I know that that's what my mom would want me to do.
For sure.
To help people that's been through things that can't get through it. She would want me to help. And that's I feel like that's my calling, is to help people that's been in them situations.
Well,
I mean,
I will tell you this, to those visionaries that are still tuning into this episode, I'm prayerful that your message, that your story has helped somebody. Death is a part of life, and we certainly want to show our empathy and sympathy towards those that may be going through that or have recently experienced that, right? The holiday time can be a very tough time for a lot of people because of the ones that they've lost. And as we kind of start this year, you know, I just wanted to put things in perspective that no matter where you are, right, if you're in a bad situation, you know, your story could be helpful. And so I know that your mom, your stepdad, your father, your daughter are all looking down at you and proud of the man that you are, your story and how it can resonate with so many people. So I do want to say thank you on behalf of the Vision Lab podcast. We typically ask a set of questions at the end of every single show.
It's you, and there is a round table. You get to have 5 other people at your table. The only stipulation we put on it is that you can't have God or whatever religious entity that you believe in at the table. Outside of that, no pun intended, dead or alive, who do you want at your table?
It'd probably be mostly the dead, and
Well, you get 5 seats.
5 seats. My mom, my dad, and daughter.
You got 2 left.
That's 3 off the top.
Yep.
Man, my stepdad and my dang,
That's 4.
that's tough.
Don't let Shayla see this.
5 seats at the table. She probably like, yeah, go ahead, babe. Go ahead and get your. I would say my mom, dad, and daughter, my grandfather on both sides. Jack
Okay.
Green and Stormy Weathers.
That's a great name.
Man,
That's a
Stormy
great
Weathers.
name. You know, normally at this particular time, we always kind of get the social media handles. I don't think you're on social media like that. But if this story resonates with somebody, can you drop your Facebook page?
Yeah, it's just Tony Green. I don't know anything
And
else.
we'll drop it on the screen here. But
Yeah.
if anybody wants to reach out to you, is it okay if they DM us and then we can get them in contact with you?
Yes, you definitely can reach out to me. I'm not licensed or any way, but I'm experienced, and experience go a long way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm willing to talk to anybody, man. Like I said, I didn't find this purpose until later on, but that I do believe now that that's one of the purposes, well, the main purpose that I have in life.
Yeah. So visionaries, if this story touched you or you're going through this or you know someone that is going through a very difficult time,
Grief.
you know, please shoot us a DM at the Vision Lab podcast. You can shoot us an email, thevisionlab@yahoo.com, and we'll get you hooked up with Tony, and you guys can chop it up. You know, there's no embarrassment by seeking help and talking to people. You heard Tony talk about, you know, going to a psychiatrist. So sometimes just getting it out and getting it off your chest and hearing from other people that have kind of gone through it can be a big help in your life. So with that being said, Tony, what is the long-term vision for one Tony Green?
My long-term vision is to be able to generate, and this is kind of off the topic, generational wealth for my kids. That's always been one of my biggest things. And that's what I'm working on now. When I get back home, so that's what I'm working on, legacy. Leaving a legacy behind. I want my legacy to be to where my kids can be proud of me.
Yes, sir.
You know, being there. Everybody want to talk about, wow, you real. Nah, man, real is taking care of your parents, man, when they need you. You understand what I'm saying? Being there for your kids when they need you. Being there for true friends when they need you. That's being real, man. All this going out, doing all this other crazy stuff that that ain't being real. This stuff what you see on TV, that's fake, man.
Nothing new under the sun.
You know what I'm saying? Take care of your family. I don't see how people go out here and don't be speaking to their mom and father. I just don't get it, man. I wish I could bring mine back. I would kill for a conversation with my mother and father. You know what I'm saying? Even my baby, but it is what it is, man. So.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, the Vision Lab has a magical time machine. Okay? What advice would you be giving yourself from 5 years ago?
Advice that I would be giving myself 5 years from now?
Ago. So back in
2019.
What advice would I be giving
It's January 2019.
The advice I would have given myself 5 years ago, 2019, if I could have just stay in the house and don't go out for about 2 or 3 years and just grind for 2 or 3 years. That's
Well, you're going to get that in 2020 with COVID.
right. Man. That, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm on a whole bunch of different things, but like I said, that could be another podcast. But this is, first of all, I want to thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate y'all giving me the ability to share my story to people that may be grief-stricken, because there's a lot of people out there that's grief-stricken, and they're looking for something or somebody to be able to steer them in the right direction, because it's a lot of people out here that don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how. So y'all giving the people the opportunity to have me speak, because my story goes really a little bit deeper, and I can get long-winded, but it's deeper than what I'm.
We may have to have you back on and chop it up some more. So, final question of the podcast: what advice would you be giving yourself 5 years from now? So it's 2029.
And that version of you is looking back to you today. What's he telling you?
What is he telling you to do?
The vision from 5 years is telling me.
So that older version of Tony's looking back and talking to you today in 2024. What's he telling you?
Don't give up. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Life is about obstacles, man. It ain't gonna always go your way. just got to keep pushing. That's my slogan, push.
That's good.
It gets tough, push.
Well, again, Tony, on behalf of the Vision Lab podcast, just tremendously humbled for you sharing your story. It's going to touch lives. Visionaries, if you're rocking with this late on the podcast, first of all, thank you. This is a tremendous story, and that we wanted to share and wanted to get out to you guys. It's a different way to kind of start the year, but it's also an appropriate way. And I just want to encourage you, whatever you're going through, like Tony said, just keep going, keep pushing, get up, make yourself busy, talk to people, continue to put one foot in front of the other, and time will go by, right? And then you'll get stronger and you'll get better, and that's just the game, and that's the formula. It's no secret sauce. I mean, you heard it directly from Tony. So if you're going through something, by all means, just get up and keep going.
One thing I'm gonna say this. Excuse me. I don't mean.
No, you good.
One thing that my psychiatrist told me that was the hardest thing that I ever had to do was to write down 10 of your hardest moments of what you've been through. I think that was one of the hardest things that I ever had to do in my life, because I not only writing them down gives you vivid memories of what you've been through, but it's also therapeutic, because it gives me the ability to be able to talk my story, because like I said,
That's tough.
at one point, I probably wouldn't have been able to sit up here and talk to y'all without breaking down.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's 4 extremely close people
Yeah.
to you. So, yeah,
So
respect.
it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic talking about it now. Especially when you know you did everything you could. Now, some people, they go through grief because of regrets. I told y'all earlier, one of the things that I regretted, I didn't say it was a regret, was not taking that girl to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
My regret, things probably could have turned out differently had I took her to the hospital, but I can't dwell on that, because if I dwell on that,
You be no good.
I ain't gonna be no good.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, thank you so much for jumping into the lab with us. Remember, visionaries, each one of our guests that are jumping into the lab are dropping nuggets of wisdom. It's up to you to pick them up.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ryan Mosley. He is Ryan Cuffey. Thank you to our guest, Tony Green, and we'll see you guys next time. Another great episode of the Vision Lab Podcast.
peace.
Blessings.